All right, peeps, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We are rolling. Thanksgiving episode. Thanksgiving episode. 1 second here. Let me get this out on Twitter. Let's get this going. Live now. All right. All right, peeps, we're rolling. We're rolling. All right, so today, we'll dive right into the wine. So, day before Thanksgiving, nothing like the day before Thanksgiving. You know, a lot of people say it's the best holiday. I'm not going to get into that fight, but I will say this that there's a lot of different foods. And when it comes to wine, people are very curious about what you're supposed to do for Thanksgiving because most people do the standard turkey, you know, unless you decide this year to eat bugs. If you decide to eat bugs this year, I don't have a wine for you. But if you continue to eat turkey for Thanksgiving, then you got to have a good pairing for it. And the kind of classic stuff that goes with the turkey, you got sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, etc., etc. Okay. So, a couple different wines you can have, but the emphasis actually for a Thanksgiving dinner is whites. And predominantly the whites that you're going to want to have are Rieslings, which we've done before. If you're going to go red, you got stuff like a Beaujolais Nouveau's pretty good with this. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Tony. Happy Thanksgiving. But you know, a wine that is actually not necessarily known about so much, but I think is the best to pair with Thanksgiving dinner is a more heavy-bodied white called Gewürztraminer. Okay, so I got a lineup of Gewürztraminer right now, and these wines will actually be what we have tomorrow for Thanksgiving. I'm gonna just, you know, probably just family will have a little bit more today, and we'll save the rest for tomorrow. So Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer was originally found. It's Traminer is actually the original grape, and genetically it's a offspring of Pinot, and Gewürztraminer is also related to the Sauvignon grape, which they have in Jura. But you can kind of call it like it's a pink skin grape, so it's almost like a rosé kind of grape. It doesn't actually make rosé wine, but you can make orange wine with it because the outside of it's pink skin, it's got thicker skin. Gewürztraminer means aromatic traminer. So this offshoot of it became very popular. And the main place and the highest quality place you're going to get Gewürztraminer is in Alsace, even though it was initially, I think, cultivated in Austrian Tyrol, which would be northern Italy, which would be Trentino area right here, you see. Okay, so Alsace in France, eastern France, is where they really have mastered it, and it's very delicate. It's got a lot of flavors. Gewürztraminer is an interesting grape to have in general, and a lot of people have mixed feelings about it because it's got so much flavor to it. It's very spicy too, but there's so much going on with Gewürztraminer that you almost feel sometimes when you're eating it like it's drinking it. It's just too much. So other places it's been cultivated commonly is in Columbia Valley, in Washington, which we have here, Washington State. And they also had it in Oregon. They make some in Australia. And they have some in the Finger Lakes as well. So I got one from the Finger Lakes as well here. And let's try it. Let's shut up and try it, huh? Hmm. So this Gewürztraminer actually has some residual sugar in it. It's like off dry, which is not really common with Gewürztraminer. It's more common for Riesling. Gewürztraminer is usually more dry. And by the way, Gewürztraminer, because of the body of it as a white, it'll cut through with a lot of the fat that you have at Thanksgiving dinner. A heavy body red would go really poorly with turkey and all this stuff. So if you are going to go red, you're going to want to go something like Cote de Rhone, Grenache base, like I said, Beaujolais, maybe Pinot Noir. And for dessert with pumpkin pie, if that's your main pumpkin pie, definitely recommend getting like a port or an Oloroso sherry. One of those will go really well with it. Tawny port would be better than a regular port. Ooh, all right. So there is absolutely no comparison in quality between this French Gewürztraminer smells divine. Holy crap. Absolutely incredible. Wow. Super round. You got that little bit of spice, but it's really bright, juicy fruit. Not even, it's just amazing how much better it is than the one from Columbia Valley. All right, let's try the one from the Finger Lakes. This is Vice Vineyards, one of the better ones. Now, smells fine. Pears, apples. So, this is not divine, but this is kind of more along the lines of what you're looking for. It's not super heavy-handed though with the spiciness, although I'm getting some of it now on the back. Now, I'm really interested in this one from. I was never really happy with this brand when I've had them, but this is where Gewürztraminer came from, and you can see it's the most yellow of them all. Pops a lot. So this one has more flavor than the Finger Lakes, but similar body consistency. What the heck is going on with this one from Washington State? It's really crappy. Yeah, this doesn't smell like a Gewürztraminer. What the heck is this? Did they blend this? Dog shit. Or not dog shit, but it's just not Gewürztraminer. Pissed off. The fuck do they think they're pulling here? Zero typicity. Zero typicity. Do not buy. Definitely buy. And these are fine. This is very typical. This is typical. This is a little bit. This is not an area where you usually get it, so I'm not upset. But this is really phenomenal. And guys, if you really want to get it, you got to get the Alsatian Riesling. Hey Ben, you know what? You know what? You don't know how to say hi to a girl? Well, just do it, man. Just do it. Ben, I'm here for you if you need anything. If you need anything. By the way, Ben does his own coaching, so he's just joking. He's just joking about this. All right, let's go into the chat here. Let's check out some of these things. All right, so first question. I'm a former fuckboy, have had previous serious relationships. However, I've noticed many women I date, we hit a wall and they say they still think I'm a fuckboy player. However, he said duck boy actually. However, this no longer reflects where I'm at right now. What do I need to change to be seen as a serious LTR kind of guy? I'm 6'1", fit, educated, drive a nice car, have a good job for my age. Hard for them to believe I'm ready to settle down. Well, it's actually not about those latter things so much. That it's hard to believe you're settled down because you got stuff going for you. Here's the situation. It's a good question. Here's the situation. When you have been engaging in a certain kind of dating behavior over a period of time, if any of you guys caught my last show, we talked about energy, frequency, peak states. You have a certain energetic that you give off. So you're used to dating a certain kind of girl in a certain type of way. So you're used to running this kind of heavy game on them, and it pulls certain kinds of girls in. But when you start to change your own orientation, what you want, your frequency starts to change, but not all of the frequency you're giving off. So you're still giving off a vibe that you want to bring in a certain kind of girl. You're trying to pull in girls, maybe you want validation, you're trying to go hook up, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas this other part of you is trying not to have that. And what that creates is dissonance. And this is actually something that's been going on with the client recently. And, it's funny. Like, look, I work with a lot of different kind of guys. I work with guys who, need help doing the basic stuff, trying to talk to women. I talk to guys who are successful and looking for greater depth in their relationship. I talk to guys who have problems in their relationships. They're not getting the kind of sex they want. They're not having the kind of connection they want. And I work with guys who are actually really good at picking up girls, but they have a hard time picking up the kind of girls that they want. When you think about a dating coach, a relationship coach, and maybe it's true for some, but when it comes to the work I do, I wear a lot of hats. And a lot of these guys, they slept with maybe hundreds of women in some cases. It's not a matter of like, I got to teach them how to get laid. They know that, but they don't understand their own emotions and what they draw in and how to break those patterns. Okay. So, point here is that you're in dissonance and you're giving off vibes to the wrong types of girls because part of you still wants what they're offering, even if part of you doesn't. And by the way, that's a recipe for a really miserable time. And uh, it does pass, but you have to go through those parts, and you have to break the patterns that are keeping you attached to the wrong kind of girls, and you need to rewire yourself and frankly modify your game accordingly. So it's kind of like trying to sell two different markets at the same time. Doesn't really work too well. All right, a little more basic question here. Pat, what's your take on holding hands on the first date? uh sure, why not? I think it's good. Actually, I think it's arguably necessary. I'll go further with that. Kissing on the first date's not necessary. However, you should be able to kiss a girl on the first date if you want to. You might choose not to amp the tension up further. You can kind of be there, right there with her, let the tension be, and she thinks you're gonna do it, and then you say, "See you next time. We'll be in touch." But the but hand holding and stuff, that's really important because it shows some level of physical intent. So I definitely am all about hand holding on the first date. I'm more about like if you're at the dinner table or whatever coffee shop drinks that you're kind of handsy there. I like that a little bit, but I don't want to nitpick. Holding hands is fine. Ben's ramen here in the chat. Mr. Branford, I moderated my game to start finding a relationship, and I found that less teasing and less being an asshole and being a bit more honest made things work perfectly. Tailor your approach. 100%. 100%. It's just very different based on the kind of girls you're trying to hook up with. And by the way, this applies to a lot of things. It applies to demographics. If you're a guy who's, a little more intuitive, maybe it's going to be tough for you to be in a club, really loud club, just not your scene, right? You're in a place that you want to be able to talk, you want to be able to try to connect with a girl. um, Clubs are better for guys who are more physical, sensorial, because they can grab a girl, they can vibe with the sensory inputs. So and if you try to force again, you give off an energy with that, you give a different frequency. So all right, next question here. Hello, Pat. Hope you're well. So I have a girlfriend. Congratulations. We started dating last month. I'm attracted to her. I am attracted to her well. The issue is her dad is a complete deadbeat, and she openly says she hates all men because of her dad. I see this as a red flag, and she is rude and disrespectful at times. I think it's because of that, and I completely hate that she is like that and told her to change her behavior or I'm out. Do you think I'm salvageable or am I fighting a lost battle? She's 18, I'm 22. Well, here's the good news. She's 18. And a girl at 18 doesn't really have any idea what she's talking about. And when I say that, I'm not talking about it in the sense whether it's true or not. I just simply mean she's completely moldable still. The younger somebody is, the more moldable they are. So a girl at 18 who hates men, uh, may be, trad Catholic girl on Twitter talking about, how all she wants is to be a devoted wife at 22. Happens, seeing crazier things. So the point, though, doesn't mean that you should go and just deal with it. I'm not suggesting it. Um, I would suggest you just level with her about it really clearly and say, look, I think you're great in a lot of ways, but um, honestly, you're throwing a lot of the issues you have with your father onto me. Not all men are like your father. And if you're going to treat me like your father, this isn't going to work. And then if she does that, being very specific about it, like you're throwing baggage that you have towards somebody else onto me and all other men. And if you do that, and two things can happen there. She either says, you don't know what you're talking about, screw you, and keeps doing it, or she kind of has some breakdown, and then you can, if you have the proper tools, and you can reach out to me if you want help with this. But in terms of being able to lead her, she may actually want to heal. She may actually, like, that can be a moment for her. It's like, I know, I'm sorry, I don't know why I do this. I mean, or I know why I do it, but like, I want to stop. I know you're not like my father. That's a huge breakthrough moment. Then there's tons of hope there. But she doesn't do something like that, if she responds negatively and still defensively, then you break up with her. But you you tell her, like, look, like, if like, just really make it clear that it's not about men, that it's about her relationship with her father, and that you hope that she deals with it, because she's a great girl. What tends to happen when you use the truth like that, and you're kind of compassionate with the ending, is that she'll start to realize that she was actually the one who messed it up, and isn't going to come out of your relationship more traumatized and more, I don't want to even say that more traumatized, because it's not like you did anything, but more disposed towards this program she's developing, that men are the problem. If you can separate men from her father, then there's a huge hope of breakthrough. If you can't, things are not going to be so good. And that's just the way it is, my friends. All right, let's see. Ben, I'll answer your question right here. Speaking of physical contact on dates, I went out with a tier 2 girl a couple times back in college. She was really into getting to know me as a person and let me lead the dates and stuff, but didn't want to kiss me. Didn't even want to hold hands. Dumped me soon after I put my arm around her while watching a show together at my place. What's your take on that? She was very Madonna, and I had no problem physically escalating with the whore types I'd be getting back then. Her personal issue, or was it a frame issue on your end? I don't think it was a frame issue. Um, it is. There are two possibilities here, and they're connected. Actually, one is certain, one is connected. She may have been so Madonna that she was scared by your own kind of man whore energy. And so, even if it was like a turn on to her, in the sense of she flirted with it, it was very scary for her to be with a guy who was too comfortable with it. Some girls, they're afraid of it and it turns them on, and it's sort of like the forbidden fruit and they go for it. Other girls, it becomes something that they can actually respond aggressively against and kind of slam the door on it, because it makes them feel like they're going to go the wrong direction. But I will tell you something. I dated a girl. She's 24 years old. She actually was a year older than me, I think. Um, Around the same age, either way. She's 24 years old. She was a virgin. Very, very much similar kind of vibe. And the flip side is that when somebody is that sort of scared of any sort of sexual energy, they usually have some kind of real issue and shame around their own um, sexuality. I mean, this girl was 24. She acted like she was 14. There's a real fear of getting close. It wasn't just like, because a girl who has a sense of boundaries will just simply say it and kind of set some expectations. But when girls kind of get really afraid of any kind of physical contact, it's usually a negative indication about them and their own health, their own ability to, like, let's just say, that's a prize you don't want to win, because that's not going to be a fun relationship. You're going to be dealing with, um, you know, girl who doesn't want sex. If you marry her, maybe if she decides to do it, she's got like vaginitis or something like that. It's like all sorts of stuff that just aren't fun. All right, what we got here? We got 4 more questions. All right. Remember, we got to go in 15 minutes because this phone's gonna melt down. Hey Pat, love the content. It's opened my eyes on women and myself, and I'm far better with women in life because of it. The question I wanted to ask: how do you go about dealing with a girl who says she loves you, makes efforts to prove that to you, even still lets you engage sexually, but wants to get her life together and explore options? It seems confusing. I don't talk to her much outside of hanging out, nor do I bring this up. Just a question that bugs me, of course, because I have so many options around me, but I also love her. How do you know when to let go or be patient? Well, look, she's fucked up. She's fucked up. This is a girl who has the classic kind of intimacy issues that you're seeing with a lot of modern women today. And what that means, of course, speaking very, very practically, is that this girl is she's okay with hooking up, and she's okay with keeping her distance. Oh, I love you, but we can't be together. I mean, I'm seeing this so much with clients. It's way worse than when I was single. Really, it's way worse, like, than 5-10 years ago. It's crazy what's going on with girls these days. It's because it's so contrary to normal female nature. Normal female nature, if there's anxiety, they're extra clingy, looking for attachment. But we've gone from like anxious attachment to disorganized, where they're like anxious and avoidant at the same time, and they are just trying to push you away and keep you close. So I would absolutely not try to waste your time trying to make something happen with her. But I know that you probably have feelings for her. Um, if you want her to come back to you, the best in a more whole piece, the best thing to do is let her go. When the time's right for you. You don't If you're enjoying the situation. My only kind of concern for you would be, uh, you're investing emotional energy in a dead end, and for your own sake, long term, probably best to end it. But you may have to ride it out a little bit before you get to the point where you actually feel able to do that. But yeah, these girls will disappoint you. They'll disappoint you, 9 out of 10 times, in terms of being able to get themselves in a position where they can really commit. And yeah, but I don't know if you talked to her about it. It might be worth calling it out if you're ready to. If you're putting yourself in a situation where I can't keep doing this. I love her. I can't keep having this ambiguity. Then it's worth calling it out, and then based on how she responds, really formally ending it. But you got to be firm if you do that. All right. Blank line. You asked, how does a girl in that position overcome it? Can you elaborate on what you mean? Overcome what? Because we talked about a couple things here. I think I know, but I just want to make sure I answer the right question. All right. Next one here. Stream the other night was great. Yes, it was great. If you missed it, that was the one on peak states and frequency. It was quite excellent, if I do say so myself. Um, so his question, Yeah, what he said first. Experiences challenging your peak state leads to challenging your frame, leads to everything as a frame. Yeah, it was powerful stuff. Got a question for the Q&A. Sexual climax for women in relationships. How much is emotional and how much is mechanical? How to leverage that emotional lever. My girlfriend, been together 2 months, gets stuck in her head when we have sex and feels like the focus is on her to enjoy herself. Oh, and when she feels like the focus is on her to enjoy herself. I notice this, and whenever I am doing the correct, by correct I mean everything I've done with multitudes of other women that has resulted in a climax actions, she says it's too intense and gets nervous. She's quite shy, so I'm not worried about it, but obviously want that spiritual connection as her man. She has told me she loves me, but I'm yet to say it back, although I'm increasingly feeling it. What's strange is we have when we have phone sex, I live in a different country and she visits me every 2 to 3 weeks for a week or two. She gets so aroused she's able to climax in minutes. How do I make her feel comfortable and get her out of her head and into her body and feelings? I feel like the answer lays in this direction, but cannot pinpoint it exactly. I realize context is important, so we'll list some here that isn't important for listeners, but might inform discussion response. Before people say, dude, you suck in bed, I'm going to mention this anyway. She tells me that this is the best sex she's ever had in her life. Not that many partners and didn't climax with previous boyfriend of 3 years. Um, I'm 6'2" and could be on Handsome Thursday post. Am traditionally polarizing, intense eye contact, deep voice, muscular body language. For these reasons, I'm thinking it's an emotional issue for definite. I'm leaning more towards it being an issue of hers, but ultimately it's my responsibility to guide her down the path of it. Okay, really awesome question. Cool topic. It's actually not a super complicated thing. It is her issue, but um, you have a lot to play in it. So, look, the real clue here that provides the answer is that she can come no problem when you're on the phone, but in person, she gets tense and nervous and turns away. What this is an indication of is levels of uh, performance issues on the part of a woman. Let's put it that way. We don't usually talk about it because when it's on the part of a man, there's literally some, the guy comes too early, the guy can't get it up, um, or the guy can't come, actually, sometimes. One of those three trifecta. But the thing is, they're all sort of overt. Whereas when a girl is having performance issues, when she's nervous, in other words, when she's nervous and she feels like she has to respond a certain way, she gets in her head. It's difficult for her to relax. She feels like she's put on the spot. But here's the key thing. Why does she feel the performance issue? Because she cares about how you perceive her in the act. So you having more experience than her and you being so dominant actually, and the fact that she said she loves you and you haven't yet, the desire is super, super high, which is why she can, you know, she's turned on, and why she can come in many cases, but she's very, very self conscious with you because you're almost too imposing of a figure. Not to try to inflate your ego or anything like that, but it's almost too imposing of a figure. So how I would definitely the ways to do this would be increasing the comfort, but you don't want to increase the comfort at the sake of desire. So I think that there's a lot to simply when you're with her in bed, you know, you could talk to her about it outside the bedroom. Don't talk about it to her in the bedroom because it could it will probably make her feel even more self-conscious of stuff. But um because the thing is there's a lot of indirect pressure she might feel, like you've been with other girls, maybe you're expecting me to do something, maybe I should do something because you're so great, and she gets locked up. But talking about it outside and kind of asking her what's going on and how she's, is she feeling okay? And but I think what's really important is that she just needs more comfort. And I do think that this will start to change when you say that you love her. I think it'll start to become easier. But yeah, that's the main thing. It just need more comfort. She needs to, but it's her issue. It's her being self-conscious. So you need to address it, but also make her feel really safe. The more safe you make her feel, and praise really works wonders with it. Um, the more she should start to open up. So it's like you gotta call it out, and then you also gotta praise her, and that's the fun of dealing with women. All right, let's see here. Got maybe 5 more minutes. Blank line your question. How does a girl over in that position overcome being a virgin at 22 to 24 due to having been afraid to get close but wanting to close the distance now? Um, well, a lot of the times when a girl waits that long, it actually creates a lot of problems for her because then she's in this state like, well, I waited this long, I should just keep waiting. And the anxiety starts to take the better of them. But uh, look, you can change at any time. If I think I understand this question correctly, it's just a matter of her conscious choice. Does she want what kind of relationship does she want to have? It may be that a guy who has a lot of sexual experience for some of these girls can be a little bit scary, and maybe it's easier for her to be with a guy who is himself less sexually confident because then she feels less pressure. I mean, this relates back to even the last topic, right? Last question. Now, in that case, the girl is receptive, she's falling into it, but she's got anxiety about it. You have to be like an extra compassionate teacher, just as if you had um, a student who was, you know, eager to learn but nervous. Like it's kind of like if you're in this higher position, if you make them, the more comfortable you make them feel, the better they're going to legitimately perform, because it's all nerves about how you're going to look at them. And if you say, look, I don't care what you do, enjoying, I just like enjoy you. Don't feel like you have to do something. Now, of course, the difficult thing is that you actually might feel that. So you got to balance it. All right. Ben, I'm going to hit your question in a second, but first, this one here. So, with Thanksgiving coming, how do you recommend dealing with family members of opposite alignment who bring up various topics? Most of the time, I bite my tongue because I just don't want to spoil a perfectly good family gathering and keep the peace, but I can't help just wonder, am I being a pussy by not speaking up more? Well, look, it's not directly the topic here, but I'll just address it because it has to do with deeper stuff. I don't think it's low consciousness to try to argue with people, especially people in your family. But look, if you haven't ever spoken your mind before and somebody else is speaking their mind and it's against what you believe in, I think it's very appropriate for you to, you know, basically challenge it. Now, a good way, a diplomatic way, an effective way to challenge is to ask questions. Well, why do you think that? Just ask people and ask people questions, because that gets them to actually think about the topic, and it breaks like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. If this person is, oh, if you and that person have spoken before about this and they're just trying to pick a fight, then I think you have to kind of reconsider whether or not you want to spend time with these people in general, just because it's a waste of your energy. And people who try to make dinners about arguments, that's their way of trying to see connection, but it's really tedious. But yeah, if you haven't spoken up before, and you're doing it to keep the peace, and you're just having to sit there and take it, I think that you are being a pussy. I think you are being a pussy if you do that, because that's an indication that you're afraid of conflict. It's not. It's there's a difference between trying to seek out conflict, and then there's a difference between hiding. If people know your position, you don't have to talk about it. If they ask you questions, you can answer it. But if they attack you, you don't have to engage. But if they don't know your position, then you're kind of being like trying to hide, and yeah, that'll make you feel worse about yourself for sure. So, all right, Ben, would you say performance issues in a woman come from an inability to open surrender herself? Yep. And my next post, which I have been working on for way too long, is going to go all into this. It's taking me forever to get it right, but it's going to be excellent when it's done. But yeah, that's a major aspect of it. Major aspect. All right. Last question. By the way, these Gewürztraminers really opened up over the course of the thing. All right. Hey Pat, question for you. How would you DM someone you're interested in regarding taking out who lives in the same town but you don't know? Between my work and busy life, it seems like crossing paths with the prospects I want are slim. Plus, in my town, it's not a hot zone where people are always going out. I know most guys can't get away with that, but in my case, the pre-framing is very strong. I can honestly say I'm at the top of my area. 90% of the girls I want to take out, I can. I've just never been one to DM people I don't know and wondering how to go about it. Well, do you guys have mutual connections? That's always an easy one to base off of. Like, hey, I saw you talking to this person. Do you know this person? How do you know them? That's always an easy way to do it. If you are at a super super high level of pre-selection, though, you can honestly be direct. You can just kind of say, hey, are you from this? You're from this place, right? You're from here, right? And then just go and she's like, yeah, like, it's like, where did you go to school? You can always take it in that direction. But before I would go for the. I mean, you could go for the date right now, right then and there. But based on what the two of you like, I don't know what platform. If this is Twitter, if it's Twitter, then you're commenting on people's comments and stuff like that. That's how you would slide into the DMs. You'd get engagement in that location. Um, if you have high pre-selection, you almost might want to throw some breadcrumbs out there and almost make a comment indicates that you know the area well, and play off the odds that she might DM you. I just need more information because there's so many little tactical things that you can do here. But again, if you're really high pre-selection, you can start up a conversation with her directly. You can lead into stuff just about you guys being from the same area, who you might know, and then invite her something if you want to. High pre-selection will probably close that. You can also gauge based on how she responds when you message her. If you message her with some of this stuff, how is she like really enthusiastic? That's going to underline that maybe she's been thinking about you for a while. So anyway, man, if you want to follow up with some more details, that's cool, and we can assess more thoroughly. But anyway, guys, that's it for the day. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and enjoy some Gewürztraminer with your turkey and all that other stuff. I will see you next time. Probably going to be Friday.